Something odd happened yesterday. People on the right, conservatives, celebrated the work of BuzzFeed. I'm going to talk about that in this video, as well as the normalization of pedophilia and how the damaged left-wing media is attempting to rebuild their credibility in the eyes of the broader public. Yesterday, Kevin Spacey responded to basically being accused of sexually assaulting a minor in an incident that occurred over 30 years ago by apologizing, saying that he was probably just drunk, and then announcing to the world that he's now a gay man. As though we didn't know that anyway. There's a lot of people that are kind of not celebrating it, but along with being disgusted, are kind of giddy in that this is just more evidence of how corrupt the elites are. And while that might be so, I think we should pause here because I think there's a lot more than meets the eye to this story. I think there's something deeper going on here. And if people get caught up spiking the ball on this, it might get missed. All right, I'll give you a quick overview of the story and then tell you why I just don't trust where this is going. Something just doesn't feel right. Anthony Rapp of the new Star Trek Discovery series told BuzzFeed that when he was 14 in 1986 and Kevin Spacey was 26, Spacey made unwanted sexual advances towards him. My memory was that I thought, oh, everybody's gone. Well, yeah, I should probably go home, Rapp said. Spacey, he recalled, sort of stood in the doorway, kind of swaying. My impression when he came into the room was that he was drunk. Rapp doesn't remember Spacey saying anything to him. Instead, Rapp said, he picked me up like a groom picks up the bride over the threshold. But I don't squirm away initially because I'm like, what's going on? And then he lays down on top of me. He was trying to seduce me, Rapp said. I don't know if I would have used that language, but I was aware that he was trying to get with me sexually. Rapp went on to say that Spacey was pressing into me, and that he remembers Spacey tightening his arms. But while he can't recall exactly how long Spacey remained on top of him, Rapp said he was able to squirm away after a short period. It was a frozen moment, Rapp said of the entire encounter with a deep, exasperated sigh. In terms of fight or flight or freeze, I tend to freeze. After pushing Spacey off of him, Rapp remembered he was able to step into the bathroom and close the door. I was like, what's happening, he said. I saw on the counter next to the sink a picture of him having his arm around a man. So I think on some level, I was like, he's gay, I guess. Then I opened the door and I was like, okay, I gotta go home. He followed me to the door of the apartment, and as I opened the door to leave, he was leaning on the front door frame and was like, are you sure you want to go? I said, yes, good night, and then I did leave. Here's Kevin Spacey's response a little bit later last night. I have a lot of respect and admiration for Anthony Rapp as an actor. I'm beyond horrified to hear his story. I honestly do not remember the encounter. It would have been over 30 years ago. But if I did behave then as he describes, I owe him the sincerest apology for what would have been deeply inappropriate drunken behavior, and I am sorry for the feelings he describes having carried with him all these years. This story has encouraged me to address other things about my life. I know that there are stories out there about me and that some have been fueled by the fact that I have been so protective of my privacy. As those closest to me know, in my life I have had relationships with both men and women. I have loved and had romantic encounters with men throughout my life, and I choose now to live as a gay man. I want to deal with this honestly and openly, and that starts with examining my own behavior. Kevin Spacey. Very, very brave statement. What a jerk. He just turned an allegation of sexually assaulting a minor into a story of how he's inspired to be open with the world about his gayness. Everybody already knew he was gay. And the media, of course, jumps all over that angle. This was reported in the media as a story of Kevin Spacey coming out, finally, bravely. Kevin Spacey, in a noble, brave tweet, announces to the world that he's gay. Little footnote, and he might have sexually assaulted a minor. The question I have is, what is Kevin Spacey's incentive for doing this? He has no incentive. This incident occurred over 30 years ago. So he doesn't have to worry about getting sued in civil court or getting arrested because the statute of limitations has passed. The story was published in BuzzFeed, which has no credibility. I figured it was BS when I first saw it, until he validated it with the tweet. And thirdly, it was the other actor's word against his word. There was no evidence provided. Kevin Spacey's more powerful. Kevin Spacey's more well-known. Kevin Spacey probably has more money than the other actor. this story had been ignored by the media in the past. He made the exact same statements years ago. People in forums identified it as Kevin Spacey. No one paid attention to it. Here's a picture of Anthony Rapp when he was 14 years old. He didn't exactly look 20. This was a prepubescent kid. Why would Kevin Spacey play a role in his own demise? Maybe Sandusky's going to make the same argument at his next appeal. Your Honor, I'm sorry, okay? I was just a little drunk and a little gay for 2 decades. Why don't you let me out of here? Kevin Spacey's not going to go to jail. Probably not even going to affect his career. He might lay low for 6 months to a year, but the media is already applauding him for finally coming out, finally being so brave after struggling all these years, instead of focusing on the fact that he might have sexually assaulted a minor. At least one. And if he gets out of this scot-free as a brave hero for showing his true self, no consequences, then we have to ask ourselves if this is the normalization of pedophilia, if that's where this is going. Think about it. They could have gone to Kevin Spacey and said, we got a deal for you. You're going to take one for the team right now, and here's what we're going to do for you later. Not going to hurt your career, not going to go to jail, and you're going to be able to be open about your lifestyle. He'd take that deal. Another thing that I think is going on, which is not quite as dark as that, centers around the question of why in the world are liberal media outlets outing so many liberals right now? I mean, this is a change. I don't know if it's going to work. It's certainly not going to work with me. But what I think they're doing is trying to reestablish credibility with the broader public. Because right now, there's a large portion of the population that sees them as fake news. Anything CNN, BuzzFeed, MSNBC, anything they publish, people are critical of, except they're diehard leftists. They just don't believe it because they've lied so many times. People don't trust them. So by throwing a bunch of their own under the bus, they can get people on the right, conservatives, to cheer their work. Think about it. Right now, there are conservatives, people on the far right, that are applauding the work that was the sole creation of BuzzFeed. Obviously, they're not cheering BuzzFeed by name. In fact, I think that's probably why Spacey had to make a public comment and pin it to the top of his Twitter page, because people on the right are going to be hesitant to quote BuzzFeed. But if Spacey says it, if Spacey all but admits it, then they're comfortable cheering that work. So they're not saying they love BuzzFeed or anything, but they are loving the story that BuzzFeed created. That's what I think is going on. I think the media on the left is trying to change the way the broader public perceives it. They're trying to shed that fake news label, which they deserve, and they're trying to rebuild their credibility by throwing some of their own under the bus. Because they want to report stories like this on Trump. But right now, like Trump said himself, he could shoot somebody in Central Park, but if BuzzFeed or CNN reported it, nobody's going to believe it. If, however, they throw Weinstein under the bus, they throw Hillary Clinton under the bus by reporting on how she paid for the dossier, if they throw Kevin Spacey under the bus by outing some of this pedophilia going on, even if they don't really punish it, outing it, pretending to be outraged, and then not reporting it so it falls out of people's minds, then suddenly you're going to see a Kevin Spacey movie again, and like, oh, and I got a pedophile. They're going to protect him. These people are getting deals. They're trying to rebuild that perception so that they can report something about Trump that the broader public will believe, whether true or not. Now, I don't think it's going to work with very many people because they're just total BS, but it might work with some. I mean, who could have anticipated that people on the right would be celebrating a story that was the creation of BuzzFeed, even if they don't mention BuzzFeed's name? They did accomplish that. Anytime an outlet that is on the opposing side that you support reports something that gets you really excited and seemingly opposes their own side, then they are probably acting as a wolf in sheep's clothing. Even fake news reports real news sometimes, and sometimes that real news is bait trying to dangle people in to build up their credibility. Even in reporting truth, these media outlets often have deceptive intent. That's the key to remember. And never forgetting incidents like this Kevin Spacey thing, never allowing someone like this to reemerge as a brave hero. Never allowing the media to frame the agenda about what's important in our minds, or fighting against it anyway, because it's challenging. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, tell your friends. I'll see you next time.